up, turn off TVs in North America. What about last year? Yeah. So this is the year we got really crazy because Dark Tangent was always like, we got to do a puzzle, we got to do a puzzle. And I'm like, no, let's not do a puzzle. But then this year, I didn't have an excuse, so we're like, let's do a puzzle. So we did a puzzle. And there's 7 different badges that all connect to each other like a puzzle.
Yeah, and Neil did the background art. And so when you put it all together, you kind of got the reveal of the art. And
this was the first time that I'm aware of that we, anybody was using multiple layers of silkscreen and solder mask to get completely, non-standard circuit board colors. And the factory eTechnet in China went out to actually find the colors because we gave them like a Photoshop drawing that Neil did with those colors, and they actually went and matched those colors and found the right silkscreen, which is totally cool.
Well, yeah, so talk a little bit about that manufacturing process. You show up at one of these fabs and you're like, hey, we want to do this. And they're like, WTF?
Yeah, most times like circuit boards usually are green and square. And they're getting a little bit better in general. Like factories are starting to become aware that people want to do different solder mask and some art and stuff. But to do something like this where each badge was an individual cutout and with all these different layers and colors and stuff, that luckily we've been working with the same factory for a while, so they're like, oh great, it's time for DEFCON, and they put people on it. But it was cool, and the badges actually...
Well, look how closely the badges align. I mean, the tolerances are amazing.
Good.
What are they, water jet cut that? Or
no, they're just milled. Oh. Yeah, milled with a really small bit. And so the badges not only like physically fit next to each other, but you could also connect them together, and they were individually addressable, so you could use the human badge as the master and like control the lights from on the other one and stuff.
Yeah, the master-slave sort of thing.
Yeah. One group did that last year for the badge hacking contest. Smitty and his minions. Yeah. And had a surface mount microphone too, and it wasn't a bug, but you probably could have turned it into one.
Yeah. Oh, and then we talked about that we had some secret modes in that one.
Oh yeah. So every year, right? This is actually good. Every year we put in all sorts of secret stuff. And every year, no one finds it. So this year, we put in a lot of secret stuff, and we actually told everybody that we put in secret stuff. And there's a lot of it, so chances are you'll find at least one thing.
Yeah. So what was the one last year? Since we had a microphone,
oh yeah,
we were trying to figure out, well, what do you do with the microphone? We had some different ideas, and we were like, well, people are going to be at the black and white ball, and it's, DJ Too Fucking Loud's going to be playing. And it's going to be really loud, so why don't we detect the pressure level, the sound, and if they're in a loud environment for too long, the badge will go like, SOS, help me,
yeah. In Morse code.
I'm losing my, and so it went into SOS like Morse code mode, but nobody noticed.
Yeah, no one noticed that, but they were probably too drunk. But I think so we did that one, and we set the time limit to be like 30 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So, if you're rocking out and partying for 30 minutes, then it would go off. And, like at every closing ceremonies, we want to do something cool. And for people who are like DEFCON 14 and 15, the lights were off and like awesome streams of light and everything. At least from up here, it looked really cool. So we did that for last year too. And that was sort of, for me, it was kind of anticlimactic because we forgot that we set the limit for 30 minutes. So we start playing that. Well, you guys were here, right? And everyone's like, what the hell? Why are the lights off? The music's so loud. So we're playing the music. Everyone's holding their badges, and it's blinking, and it looks cool, but we're waiting for this Morse code.
Yeah, waiting for everything to switch into, like, help me mode. And we're like, oh, not 30 seconds.
Yeah, not 30 seconds, 30 minutes. And then so I go back and look at the source later, and I'm like, oh, Jeff, that's why it didn't work. So I don't know what we're going to do this year, but it's always fun to do something.
What was the year you had there was an exploit against our badge? Remember one year there was, like, a bug track posting on an exploit in the...
Yeah, wasn't that? I think that was the infrared one.
One year we had, you could load the SD memory card, and
yeah,
then you
that
could
was the infrared
that was
one,
the Ninja Eye, and you could transmit data back and forth.
Yeah.
If you put an SD card in, and the idea was that people would pass around anonymous data, and you'd show up back at your room at the end of the night, and you'd pull out your SD card, and you'd look at all this cool shit you got, just wandering around transmitting it. But it didn't quite work out that way because people didn't just stay there and hold the badges up to each other. And it took too long to sync, even if we were at, 100 and something thousand baud?
It was slow. Yeah. I wrote the routine myself, so that tells you something. It was probably like 300 baud.
The electrical engineer wrote the code.
Yeah, you know how that goes. All right, so that's the retrospective. And now we're going to start the actual badge this year.
Oh, wait, tell them about the drama with the leakage of the info last year and why we
Yeah, was that last year or 2 years
Well,
ago?
with Wired.
It started 2 years ago.
Yeah. So we always wanted to leak a little bit of the information out there, so you guys could get your kits ready if you were going to use any decompilers or any hardware hacking stuff or whatever. You'd know enough about it in advance to maybe grab some tools and head out here. Because the first year we tried it, we really didn't say anything, and it was kind of hard.
Yeah.
So we figured we'd start leaking stuff. But how do you leak it without giving it all away? So we would do like 2-part press interviews. Like here's sort of the overview, and then the con would start, and then we'd dump everything so people would have a place to refer to. And it didn't quite work out.
No, there was a misunderstanding, and all the info got out on like Tuesday or something. So it's sort of, we like to have it sort of secret, because then it's more of a surprise for people, and it's like, cool. If you're at home and you haven't even come to DEF CON and you already know what stuff looks like, that's sort of lame. So
yeah. So
this year we were a little more careful, I guess. But then we were doing a little bit of tweeting.
Yeah. Now we've got the Twitterverse. So we've been trying to. But sometimes people have been sending some misdirection out there. I think somebody was like, yeah. Somebody asked me, yeah. So which SIM card do I bring? To plug in, I'm like, I'm not sure if it's AT&T or Verizon. You know, it's like
someone asked me if the FCC had released our badges yet.
Yeah. Because they were in for radio testing.
Right.
Yeah, so we do give you a little misdirection, but
yeah, that's always fun. All right, so you guys remember this, badges by Christmas?
Badges by Christmas.
No, you guys weren't in the closing ceremonies when everyone's like, yeah, badges by Christmas, and you all yelled it. Right? I have a video. You all yelled it. I have proof.
And I believe we said,
Yeah, and I was saying something like, if I got Jeff's credit card, then I would do it. I just couldn't get in touch with him until February. So here's the timeline. I'm going to go through the timeline and some details and sort of the process and all sorts of stuff. There's a lot of details I want to go into, because previous talks I've sort of skipped stuff, and then later I'm like, oh, I really should have mentioned that. So now there's all sorts of stuff that you're probably saying, damn, I wish he's going to stop talking. So timeline, fall 2009, after DEF CON, after we sort of recovered. It was actually before Christmas. We started initial brainstorming, just trying to figure out what we could do. Because every year it's like, how are we going to top that? What are we going to, we've used.
And also it's like, Joe will be like, oh, new technology is coming along.
Yeah.
Maybe we can use that. Let me get samples. Oh, nope, that sucks. Okay, let's try another technology.
Too expensive.
Too expensive, not enough parts, too slow to manufacture. And so we were going through ideas. And then you start to investigate it, and like 3 weeks later, you're like, that's not going to work.
Right. Yeah, and there's a lot of constraints that I'll go into. So we started brainstorming, and then January is when we actually had a pretty decent idea. I found these displays, and I'll talk about those later, but found this cool display, and then we decided to go with like an aluminum circuit board, because aluminum's awesome, and metal's like, yeah, I'm wearing my metal badge. So that was cool.
And it's doing stuff.
Yeah, and it's doing stuff.
It's got electrons.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. What did you say in your little speech in the program? It's like metal eliteness or something. It's pretty elite. So we started doing prototype design, hardware design in January. Basically, I set my milestones to the different Black Hat conferences. So at Black Hat DC, I tried to have the prototype hardware done so I could go, when I went to see him, I could like physically show him, because we don't live anywhere near each other, and we don't often Skype. And so let's see. Then we did. Once we approved the hardware, then finished writing the firmware, at least the low-level stuff, made sure all the hardware worked, and then we could at least kick off the board order while we finished up the firmware. And that way we could try to avoid some of like the problems that we encountered last year. And then we ordered parts, and it's like pretty much trouble-free. There's a few little hiccups that we'll go into, but the badges ended up arriving on time. So do you guys like that? Are you happy with that? Okay.
Well, and the funny thing was, you'll tell the story, but it's the wrong country's customs held it up.
Yeah. Well, at least you enjoy not standing in, well, I guess you have to stand in long lines anyway. So I don't know. I guess it was worth the effort to get him here on time. But it was good. So here's some more pictures.
That's the Octo Squidly badge.
Yeah, this is what happens when an electrical engineer uses a pen. And I'm like, we could do like an octopus.
I'm like, hey, Joe, that's a great idea.
Yeah, Neil, we need some help.
Yeah, over here, Neil.
Yeah, so this was the original sketch. Actually, this was sort of my proposal to Jeff and Ping about even using the LCD, because it's sort of like, how are we going to mount it? It's not really designed to be on a badge. And I was like, no, we can do it like this. We can like have it on the front and have a slit and put it through and like do laser stuff. And yeah, they sort of went with it.
Yeah, it turned out that the squid form factor didn't quite work.
Yeah,
but,
that got thrown out. So here's the next step. So basically we had, we knew what we were going to do, and I wanted to put together a paper mock-up to figure out how I could align the LCD and the battery and everything, because the pinout of the LCD was in such a way that I could only do it the way that you see. So pin 1's on the left and pin 30's on the right. So I couldn't move it any lower because all the other electronic stuff was in the way. So I had to do a bunch of mock-up stuff. And then I built the prototype. So this is before the art. Oh, motherfucker. That's why someone called my cell phone. Call the hotline. Dead battery, hate the badge, need advice, button stopped working, make a suggestion, wrong color, badge problems, call my cell phone. I expect that the goons will find out who did that and come tell me. And if you do decide to call me, you can go fuck yourself. Or I'll find you and do it for you.
I like the one, wrong color. No, you got the color you're supposed to get. Yeah. Sorry, we don't have any more spare red or black badges for you.
But seriously, someone called me last night, and I'm like, who the fuck is that? And they're like, yeah, I really want to hack the badge, but there aren't any left, so maybe you can, if you can give me one, that would be cool. Give me a call back, thanks. Oh no, they're also like, if you're not too wasted, give me a call back. So the guy obviously didn't know me. Yeah, so that was a little weird.
So you'll just, turn off your phone and just do text message, right?
Yeah, right, text message support. Yeah. So, damn. I'm not changing my phone number either, I like that one. So, let's see. Yeah, prototype badge, put the parts on, and this was the first time that I had everything together, because it's hard to prototype with that 30-pin flex connector without making an actual circuit board. So this was the first one. Before we had the artwork, we knew we wanted the general size to be like this iPhone type of thing, because everyone loves the iPhone. So we're like, well, let's make a badge that is the same size, and everyone's going to love that too.
If they're hanging around their neck, it's not like, huge
yeah,
Public
like
Enemy,
other
like
years,
Flavor
right.
Flav style or anything.
Right. Not that isn't cool.
I have an idea for a badge next year, Joe.
Big clocks.
Yeah.
And the Uber ones can have just huge gold chains. We're going to start working on that right after this talk. So let's see. Prototype came in, did some hardware testing, low-level routines that I'll talk about, writing the drivers, basically getting everything working on this prototype board. And that's what I went to go showed Jeff and everything at Black Hat Barcelona in Spain. So now it's
right before VolcanoCon, when we all got trapped because of the volcano.
Yeah, that was nice. That was a good time. And so everything worked. We knew the hardware worked, and we knew the board worked, so we could at least start spinning that and finish working on all the firmware. So the firmware was done all over the place. I don't know if you guys have read the little thing I wrote in the program, but the firmware development for badges in the past had been done on my honeymoon and in buses and airplanes and everywhere. And this time was no different, except I didn't have another honeymoon. This was in the airport in Frankfurt. And so all different airplanes and airports. The people riding airplanes never really like when I'm doing dev, because I pull out the board, and usually the prototype has extra wires on it, and the battery and the cable and the